Good evening, folks. Aaron Dorr here with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. And folks, we have a one-of-a-kind video update for you guys tonight. It's a story of betrayal. It's a story of corruption. It's a story of prostitution. Prostitution of the law enforcement profession here in Missouri. Prostitution of our freedoms. Prostitution of the integrity of many, many, many lobbyists who prowl the halls of our legislature every single day. And folks, this is going to be the kind of video you're going to look back on days later and say, did he really say that? Did they really have the proof that they talked about in that video? My gosh, how can this be? How can this be? Folks, Aaron Dorr here with the Missouri Firearms Coalition, and everyone knows the pressure is mounting every single day on Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act. You guys have all been a part of this fight for the longest time. You've helped us this entire time. You helped us ram this thing through on the last, 2 days of session last year. You've helped us fight in the Supreme Court just last week. You've helped us fight to stop Caleb Rowden from trying to repeal the bill just last month. And folks, you have been involved in this fight the entire time. And you have to know now, what's going on. Because, folks, again, the pressure is mounting right now in Jeff City to have SAPA repealed yet this session. The pressure is mounting right now in Jeff City on statewide office holders to come out and attack the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And that's why you have got to know the truth. Folks, here is the truth that we have never been told from elements in Missouri's law enforcement community. Now, this is not the rank and file officers. This is their political handlers who work as lobbyists in Jeff City. It is the police chiefs of cities like St. Louis and Columbia and Springfield and KC who come to the Capitol and try to attack our gun rights every chance they get. These are the people who filed lawsuits against SAPA, and all of them for the last 2 years or 15 months have wrapped their concerns about SAPA in law and order, crime. We can't do our jobs. You guys are making it harder for us. How come you won't listen to us? Well, folks, now we know. Now we know what's going on. Folks, there are 126,722,340 reasons why the department heads of Missouri's law enforcement community are opposed to the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Because, folks, that is how much money Missouri's law enforcement agencies have received from the hands of the federal government, thanks to their civil asset forfeiture programs. Let me paint the picture for you, okay? 18 years ago, the Missouri General Assembly passed an amazing civil asset forfeiture law, and it made landmark strides in giving protections from the citizens here in Missouri from illegal, unconstitutional, and immoral civil asset forfeiture. What Missouri's law did 18 years ago was pretty simple. It just said, before you can seize somebody's money through civil asset forfeiture, you have to have a conviction in court. You might think, well, of course. Folks, that's not normal. In many states, the government can seize your money. State troopers, city cops, deputies, whatever it is, they can seize your money even if you're never brought to court, let alone convicted. 18 years ago, Missouri passes the law that requires a conviction before the government can seize our money through civil asset forfeiture. And then, part number two, Part number 2 of Missouri's civil asset forfeiture law said any money that is taken through civil asset forfeiture may only be spent on schools. Say it again. Any money they take may only be spent on schools, funding education. And by doing that, what they did was removed any allegations of a profit motive, profit for, policing for profit, as they say. They removed that. So now any dime taken by Missouri law enforcement agencies pursuant to a civil asset forfeiture claim may only be given to schools. So then that causes a real problem. If you're the kind of law enforcement department head who wants to get all that cash for your department through civil asset forfeiture, what the heck are you going to do? The General Assembly just effectively made it illegal. What the hell are you going to do? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to jump into federal task forces. You're going to have your officers hire out as temporary U.S. Marshals or temporary ATF agents, temporary FBI agents. All kinds of task force work can be done. And if you're an enterprising sheriff or an enterprising police department head, you're going to find out about the federal equitable sharing program, a special program of the Department of Justice. And you're going to find out that under the federal equitable sharing program, approximately 80% of every dollar that the feds seize under civil asset forfeiture, that goes to you. That goes to you, your department. 80% of the money that is confiscated through civil asset forfeiture laws in Missouri by the federal task forces, they are immune from following Missouri law. It's federal law. 80% of that money is given to Missouri law enforcement agencies. 80%. Now you may be asking yourself, well, how much are we talking about? I mean, are they taking, $1,000 here, $500 there? What kind of cash are we talking about? Folks, it's gonna make your blood boil. It's gonna make your blood boil. The Institute for Justice, a national organization that tracks this stuff, has a great study on their website about each state in the country, and they have a great report on Missouri and how much money Missouri has received from the federal equitable sharing program. Let me post a screenshot here. Let me erase my comment so there's more space. Let me post this in the comment section or in the screen here. Check this out. This is from their website. From the year 2000 to the year 2013, $126 million and change has been given to Missouri law enforcement agencies for their assistance in federal task force work. You get that? In 14 years' time alone, $127 million. There's the numbers. An average of over $9 million a year flooding into Missouri's law enforcement community. $127 million. So what that was designed to do was give the middle finger to the General Assembly. And they said, well, okay, fine. You're making it against the rules or against the law for us to take this money. And so instead, we're going to jump into bed with the federal government, with the Department of Justice, and we're going to say, screw you to the General Assembly because we're going to be part of federal task force work. And in so doing, we're going to bypass your state laws. And that's exactly what they have done. By bypassing state law and becoming part of the federal task force program, they have been able to take all of this cash into their departments. But folks, when you and I passed the Second Amendment Preservation Act last year, that effectively ended this incestuous relationship because these task forces have largely stopped right now here in Missouri. They don't have to. We didn't draft it that way. But the reality is that a lot of these task forces are all about issues that do touch on SAPA. And so these federal task forces are no longer working with state and local officials. As a result, the sheriffs in your county, the city police departments in your county, collectively across our entire state, are losing out on an average of $9 million a year. Does that make sense? I want to make sure I'm being very clear on that. The state said no 18 years ago, passed a law. You can't do it. If you take the money, there has to be a conviction. If not, you give it back. And if you take the money, it goes to the school system. There will be no profit motive in policing here in Missouri. Missouri law enforcement doesn't like that. So they jump into bed with the DOJ. They whore out their departments to the federal government. And they say, you know what? We'll help you guys. And then for that, they get 80% of the money. 80% of that money that is seized goes to them. They didn't break state law because they didn't enforce state law. They helped the feds enforce federal law. In so doing, they could bypass the entire process, bypass state law, and 80% of that goes in their pockets. It's so corrupt, it should make your blood boil. That is their opposition to SAPA. That is their opposition to your gun rights. That is their opposition to our efforts to stop federal gun control from being effective here in Missouri. It has nothing to do with criminals. It has nothing to do with law and order. It has nothing to do with putting bad guys in jail. They can do all of that under SAPA. This is about $126.7 million that they took in just between the years of 2000 and 2013. $9 million a year that they are losing out on because SAPA has affected these interstate compacts and these federal task forces. Stephanie says, what kind of money are they losing? That's the money, Stephanie. $126 million. So, folks, this flips the entire narrative. This flips the entire script. So, when you speak with your local law enforcement, police chiefs, sheriff's department, state troopers, local barracks commander, whatever you want to call it, and they talk about SAPA in the negative, the first question that we have to ask them is, how much money has your department lost as a result of not being a part of the federal equitable sharing program? The DOJ's program. How much money has your department lost by not being a part of federal task forces anymore? How come you never disclosed the profit motive in your objection to the Second Amendment Preservation Act? How come you lied to us and allowed us to think that your motivations were about crime and criminals and law and order when you never disclosed the fact that $9 million a year goes into Missouri Sheriff's Department and Police Department budgets because of these programs? See, folks, we have always backed the blue here at the Missouri Firearms Coalition, but we've always backed the blue as long as they back our freedoms, as long as they back the Constitution, as long as they uphold their oath of office to defend our constitutional rights from all enemies. But we're not getting that. What we have right now, and I want to be very clear on this. Obviously, we're not saying every cop in Missouri, every trooper in Missouri, every sheriff's deputy in Missouri. On the contrary, these are the guys who love SAPA. These are the guys who know that SAPA protects them from having to enforce an unconstitutional mandate or possibly lose their job. These cops love SAPA. What we're talking about here are the very small number of people, the department heads who run these police departments, run the state patrol, run certain sheriff's departments. These are the guys who know how much money is at stake. These are the guys and gals who come to Jeff City to oppose your gun rights. These are the guys and gals who are currently suing to block and overturn SAPA. And these people hoard out the honor of their profession, the honor that we've always given to law enforcement. They hoard it out to put their hands into the pockets of the Department of Justice's federal equitable sharing program. And by doing that and bypassing state law, they have raked in, I don't mean personally, I mean their departments have raked in $126,722,340 between the years 2000 and 2013. I don't have numbers handy in time for tonight's video on 2014 through 2022 or 2021, but we know for a fact that it's been going on because they're all whining about this behind closed doors in Jeff City. Folks, these are the questions that you have to ask. These are the questions you have to ask your local law enforcement. How much money did your department get from federal programs? How come you would not disclose the monetary concerns, the monetary motivations that you had when you opposed and are currently opposing SAPA? How come you let us all believe your concerns were grounded solely on law and order? It's just disgusting stuff from people who should have much higher degrees of honor than that. Folks, here's a screenshot one more time. Let me erase the caption here so you have more space to read that. This number comes again from the Institute for Justice. They have a report on every state in the country. And this shows just from 2000 to 2013, 127 million approximately dollars coming into Missouri from this program, $9 million a year from this program. Does that make you mad? Should make your blood boil. Should make your blood boil. They, like I said, they spited the will of the legislature who banned this practice 18 years ago. They then went and jumped into bed of the federal government. And then now that you and I have passed SAPA, now that we have put an end to this practice effectively through this legislation, now they're wrapping all of their concerns in law and order, and they never bothered to mention all of this filthy lucre. And folks, it's not even just this. There's all kinds of other incentives. Take the sheriff in Springfield, Sheriff Arnott, a relentless opponent to the Second Amendment, a relentless opponent to SAPA, an opponent of this year's Stand Your Ground law, a relentless opponent to freedom. The guy is getting a massive new jail facility in Springfield. I'm going from memory here. I may try to Google it here one second once. New jail in Springfield, Missouri cost. And I'll check my math on this. Where is the dollar amount? Guys, it is a monumentally huge new jail coming to Greene County, coming to Springfield. I believe, I don't want to give the wrong number. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's going to be, so it's a roughly between 150 and $200 million new jail in Greene County. And you'll be asking yourself, well, where's the federal cash on that? Here's the federal cash, folks. For every prisoner that the sheriff stores in his new sheriff in Greene County, he gets double the per diem that he gets for storing a local prisoner. Let me say that again. For every prisoner that spends a night in the new Greene County sheriff in a sheriff's department jail in Missouri, the sheriff's department gets double the per diem that he would get if he was holding an in-state resident, an in-state prisoner. There is so much money passing through their hands. There is so much money that motivates everything that they're talking about right now when it comes to your gun rights. Sheriff Arnott, again, is one of the worst opponents to your gun rights. And the guy's set up to raise a fortune off of the federal programs that will put twice the money into his jail. Your sheriff may have the exact same arrangement. Folks, you need to ask your law enforcement officers, your department heads, these questions. Feel free to call them tomorrow Walk in, request a meeting. Send them an email. Send them our video. I don't care. I never speed in Missouri because I know exactly how much some of these guys would love to get me pulled over on the side of the road. Send them our video. I don't care. Email them, call them, have a cup of coffee, sit down with them in person, shoot them our video. Whatever it is you do, contact them and say, I just want to know, how much money has SAPA cost your department? How much money have you lost because of SAPA? I want to know how much cash. Because again, this is $9 million on average across the state. There could be counties that get very little. There could be counties that get the majority of it. If you're a county with an interstate going through, you're getting a bunch of cash. If you're a county anywhere near big cities, you're getting a bunch of cash. Just ask them, how much money did you get? How much money did your department get over the last 5 years, 10 years from the federal equitable sharing program, from being party to your task force work? How much extra cash you get by storing federal prisoners in your jail? How much money is at stake? Because, folks, that is the real reason behind so much of the opposition that you are seeing to the Second Amendment Preservation Act here in Missouri. And now that we know this, and now that we have this information, we're going to make sure everybody in Missouri has this information. I'm going to post a comment, if I can do this the right way. Our producer is gone tonight. I'm doing it by myself here. I'm going to post a comment right now. Yeah, there it goes. Comment right there in the comment section from us. That's a link to the Institute for Justice. That is their page, their report, their compilation on us here in Missouri. You can see lots of other states. That's fine. It's right there. But that's the report on Missouri. And they break down every penny of this money, where it comes from, and how it violates the state law. I mean, it doesn't violate it, it bypasses it. And folks, when you read it, it's going to make your blood boil. These are the questions we have to ask our law enforcement officers. These are the questions that we're going to be asserting in Jeff City, because, again, these guys have prostituted the honor of their badges. They have prostituted the honor of their profession. If they are subjugating our Second Amendment freedoms for corrupt federal money, it's disgusting. These guys should be ashamed of themselves. Since they're clearly not, we're going to make sure that everybody in Missouri knows about this. Guys, we want you to be a part of this fight. We are leading the charge to defend SAPA in court, in the General Assembly. We're fighting to expand stand your ground law, calling out corrupt, at least corrupt motives on the part of our law enforcement community. And we need your help, guys. Get involved in this fight. Become a member today. Join MOFC.com. That's www.joinmofc.com, and join us in this fight, guys. Share our video everywhere. Make sure everyone knows what is going on here in Missouri. Make sure everyone knows that there is a profit motive that underrides the objections to SAPA from the members of our law enforcement community, at least their leadership team. Make sure folks have the truth. We'll be in touch with more information, guys, as soon as we can. For now, share our video, guys. Join the fight. We'll be in touch. Take care. Have a good night.